Okay, we got VK now. Can't see. Nope. Yeah, let me try to get that back. Do I have you, VK? Okay, I got you, dear. Hang on. Working on another channel. Hang on. All right. I can. Yes, ma'am. How are you doing, Grandma? I'm sorry. What's? Well, I hope you're doing well as can be expected. You've got to be under a lot of pressure here. I don't know much about your daily life or what you've got to do, but what does it having? I don't know if it's a burden, if it's a blessing, having the control or at least the knowledge of this trust and its value, and knowing that you've got something that potentially could store the proper balance of power between the people and this corruption that we call government right now. And frankly, we've talked about a lot of different things here. We've talked about, I mean, you're familiar with everything that went on in the Cold War here, and I'm having a hard time determining whether we're under fascism or communism. Did the Germans win the war and and just didn't tell us? Did the Germans form an alliance with the Israelis and promise to export all their Jews there to Palestine? I'm a little confused here. Communism, fascism, it looks to me to be the same thing as the Republicans and the Democrats, which is two wings to the same damn bird. And the bird's a global vulture, it ain't an eagle. Straighten me out, Grandma. Yes, ma'am. Now, are you referring? Let me stop you. Let me stop you for just a second. Are you referring to alien life forms, or have we got a technology here, a society within a society here in the United States that has the kind of power and the kind of science needed to make a UFO fly or build a pyramid? I'm not sure if it's alien or if it's originated on this planet. I mean, maybe the reptilians are simply the descendants of the dinosaurs. Okay. Careful, Grandma. Now you're describing me here. You know that, right? I know. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Under Operation, you're talking about Operation Paperclip that they brought over all the German scientists, a lot of the German generals, a lot of the SS. Matter of fact, they made the Heinz Mueller, I believe he was the head of the SS in Germany. They brought him over here and made him a general in the and put him in the CIA. Yes, ma'am. I'm listening. I'm right here.
Well, Skype keeps bouncing
Yeah,
around.
we got a little
So
background
anyway,
noise.
it's the people that's going to have to make up their own mind. You know, it's the people that'll say to their state treasurers, "Hey, we've had enough of this nonsense. We want these people have been stealing from us. We want our property back. We want them out of our lives. Get out of the moon or into the moon or out of Earth or wherever. But get them out of our life."
Grandma, you are.
And it will happen. Now they've got.
It's happening in Egypt. It happened in Iceland. I mean, the Iceland prime minister or one of the higher ups came out and said we did something a little different in America. We arrested the bankers and we paid off the people. We paid the people. We bailed out the people, and that's what we need right now. But they've got such a stranglehold on the media and the money. In the Patriot movement, we can't do anything. We can't make a move. We can't place an ad. We can't print brochures half the time because they've broke us down to nothing. They've stolen everything we've got. They've drugged the Americans. They've programmed the Americans with television here. And the answer, you, Leo Wanta, I mean, all the way down from Reagan, and we got bad things happening in everybody's administration because these criminals, I call them banksters. They're controlling every aspect of our life. They're controlling our thinking. So people think of Clay Douglas as some kind of right-wing radical, and they've done the same kind of demonization on you. They've done the same thing to you. They've tried to kidnap you. They kidnapped me. They kidnapped me for 3 months, kept me drugged.
They kidnapped me. I'm still in a kidnap situation. But it didn't get what they thought they were going to get. They thought they were going to get the documents from the trust board. They didn't get those. They thought they were going to get the account numbers for the Contra accounts. They didn't get those. So, in essence, putting it bluntly, they've just got themselves all screwed. And then they made me mad. And would I help them? No, I won't help them.
What about the supposedly the charter of the Federal Reserve was up this year? We could take our money back this year, but they Congress told us out, didn't they? I'm sorry, dear. Go ahead.
What do you think? What do you think the company store is that I've been talking about
Yes,
all
ma'am.
this time? You know, two plus two does equal four. It does not one to five or seven. People have to start to think, and people can't even think today. I get so disgusted with people, I could scream. They can't think. Now,
What about what's happening?
You know, that's going on in Egypt.
Grandma, I've got a little cartoon up on my Facebook. Yeah, I've got a cartoon up on my Facebook page of a little kid talking about Egypt and saying, we kicked out the politicians, we kicked out the leader. You can do that. If they can do that in Egypt with the largest demonstration in history, the 16 million people went into the streets to protest this Muslim Brotherhood, and I don't want to get off right now. Right now, I'm not very. I've just seen a film about the way the Muslim so-called religion works, and I'm not very happy with the whole world situation at this time. But we got 15 million people that kicked the Muslim Brotherhood out of Egypt. They kicked them out of Egypt. And the army's backing them up. Why can't we do that here?
Well, I think the shame of it all is when we have a president of the United States who's a member of that Muslim Brotherhood.
We had LBJ who swore loyalty to Israel and ordered the attack, or at least prevented the rescue of the USS Liberty. So, I mean, and Bush certainly didn't do us any favors when he allowed 9/11 to occur. I mean, it's maybe the time, maybe what we're seeing happen here is a world revolution, and it's not if it's based on our Bill of Rights, I think we've got a pretty good shot at it. The Constitution is written to benefit the banksters almost, isn't it?
I'm sorry, say again.
I said much of the Constitution benefits the bankers and doesn't do what it's supposed to do for the American people. We're not getting any royalties.
I'm happy when I hear people say stuff like that.
Why?
The Constitution, those seven articles of Constitution are what the people granted to
Government.
Congress.
Yes.
So the Congress, just a minute now, for God's sake, shut up for a minute and listen and learn something. You know, before they had the Constitution, there was such a thing called the patroons. Only the people that were the patroons could do business. The American people couldn't. The patroons were the king's representatives. Well, now then, They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Because they better hang on to that Constitution, because that's the only thing that's keeping them out of death camps right now. Now, there are those in our leadership that want to do away with it. There's a better solution on that. Do away with the leaders. Do away with the leaders. Do exactly what they had to do all time through history to get rid of that corruption and do away with the leaders that are abiding to that corruption and to the subversion of the Constitution and the overthrow of the Constitution and literally the destruction of the country, which is treason. Now we've got that Constitution, and I used to practice contract law. And that Constitution, those 7 articles, those are the nearest things to perfection I have ever seen. It's just everything everybody wants to sit there and if somebody says, oh, we got to get rid of that Constitution, that gives them the right to go out there. It's a bankers. No, it isn't. It isn't. It's the guideline of how they deal in public, in the behalf of the American people. That represents the American people and her international good faith and credit. And they have literally destroyed that. This company store has. So we have got to take a look at that Constitution. You've got to look at it in a different light. You have to know what gave birth to that Constitution. You've got to know the history of this country. And most of the people they sit around with their thumb up their butts and their brains in neutral, and they don't know a dang thing about this country. Except it's got a lot of crooked leaders that do a lot of drug running, and there ain't no gold in Fort Knox. But look at what this country is about.
Well, Grandma, you know, I do this show.
Look at what this country is about.
I do this show because I took an oath to defend the Constitution. And I agree with it. You know, I was at a meeting in Austin, and I had a room full of people sitting around and trying to discuss what they wanted to do with their meeting. What did they want to accomplish? What rules do we need? What do we need to push? What do we need? I said, well, it's pretty simple, isn't it? You got the Bill of Rights. We need to push the Bill of Rights because every one of our rights on unalienable rights are under assault by the media, by the people within.
They're inalienable. Means that they're too sacred.
Yes, ma'am.
They're too sacred to be violated. And that's exactly. But baby, I'm going to tell you something, and this goes for all of you listening. That Constitution is alive and well, just as Glass-Seagal is alive and well. You heard what I said there?
Yes, ma'am.
There's only one thing that can do away with Glass-Steagall, and one thing that can do away with the Constitution. That's the people. Now, when they, if you go and check out the records, the voting records on Glass-Steagall that allowed them to mess with all this criminality, then what you're going to be finding is that was an improperly voted on incident. All your congressmen and senators were not gathered present and accounted for. And Glass-Steagall did not, the mandate to remove it did not pass by the required 3/4 majority.
Now,
Therefore, it can go in.
For a few of my listeners here, please clarify what Glass-Steagall is, what it accomplished, what it's supposed to be doing, and what happened to it, please.
All they got to do is look it up on the internet. Look up, go in it, and get the text of the Glass-Steagall Act that went into effect in 1933, and it was to keep the corruption out of the banking industry.
Okay.
It's where the banks couldn't own any property. Well, look how the banks are doing now. They're feeling everything's not locked down. They're heading. You can't find a clear title on any property in this country since the S&L fiasco.
And the reason that's not being enforced, why isn't Congress doing what it's supposed to do? Why isn't the Senate doing what they're supposed to do? It looks to me like they're all just hired and being paid for by the bankers to look the other way, to not talk about this. And they're trying to even do that again on our, right down to the police level, ordering police and firefighters not to investigate a suspicious crash. Killed a reporter. I mean,
well, they do not have that. They don't have that power. And the more that the people allow that to happen, and that type of corruption, and that is nothing more than mob rule. The mob rule of Al Capone and Dutch Schultz and that bunch of boys. Maryland. It's mob rule. This is not law.
people are simply
And the more
afraid.
people,
All right, we had a little
the
roar
more
in there. Okay, everything's fine now.
like cat out there trying to pray in the same field, not making any point.
I'm sorry, we had a roar
Until
in
the
there.
American
Go ahead.
until the American people and the people around the world say, look, now we've had enough of this. You know, we're going to start decorating lampposts if you don't start getting this mess straightened out. And these guys are just standing there because they know the Americans are too wimpy to do anything. We got nothing but a bunch of damn wimps up there. They'll go and they'll sell their soul to the company store again and go and fight these wars, these proxy wars, which are illegal as hell. But they won't defend their own country. And that's what really ticks me off.
Well, it really irritates.
I'm going to finish my statement.
Go ahead, dear.
I think the women of this country have actually got more damn balls than the men.
You know, this is a question. I mean, I've been running up against this for 20 years. Nobody wanted to hear anything. I was a right-wing radical. I was called every name in the book, racist, anti-Semite, and all I want is what the republic we were guaranteed by our founding fathers. I think they did a great job. I think they did a great job.
About it. And the people here's these guys, they go out there and light up a corncob pipe and get a chaw of tobacco and sit there and take the foot and kick a few rocks and sit there and say, well, I don't know, I ain't putting up with this shit no more. And that's about all you hear from them.
That's true.
So I've never been so disgusted with American males in all my life. Let me tell you something, honey. I had a man say to me, well, why haven't you married? And I said, well, when you have for the best, everything else is ancillary. I said, women of my generation, we grew up when men were men, and we were damn proud of those men. And I said, today, these men wear lace on their jockey shorts. And I said, women have more balls in their bras than the men have in their jockey shorts.
Well, unfortunately, you're right. I mean, I have to argue a little bit because, I'm more of a leather than lace kind of guy. But the education is part of why I helped start and support Timothy Bible College. At least you can get an education there instead of just being programmed. You know, I put up a quote by Edgar Hoover that the average person is just stunned or blindsided when he comes face to face with a conspiracy so vast he can't believe it can exist. And I mean, this goes pretty deep into what we're being done. We're actually being programmed. Now, is it the drugs? Is it the programming that we get from this Talmud vision? Is it the Charlotte Iserbyt?
No.
Charlotte Iserbyt came on and talked about the dumbing down of America, and Dr. Jake Wades talked about how the colleges and the colleges are it's a scam now. You can't get a job when you get out of it, and you'll owe them money for the rest of your life. What is it? Is it the drugs? I mean, we Americans are more drugged now by pharmaceuticals than any other nation in history. I mean, every other commercial on television for some kind of drug for a disease you never heard of. And so.
Well, I tell you, you want the answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Because we were taught to respect our elders. We were taught to respect the law. And right now, we have found that our elders are nothing but a bunch of crooks and criminals. You look at Congress and Senate sitting there, they're all military. They've taken that Title 38 oath to the president. They don't say hell with the people. They're going to follow the president. And you've got military that's running the police forces. And the police forces, they have just become so decadent, so corrupt, so oppressive, and mean-spirited. I just posted an article over on Portland in the media where the police officer was actually giving a body cavity a search on two women in Texas. Rick Perry, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, you jackass.
Yes, ma'am.
And doing body searches, cavity searches, right there in the open, in the public, on two females. And that's the kind of stuff we're supposed to respect? No way. No way.
I hear the women are suing so they might get something out of it, but it shouldn't be happening in the first place. What about what happened in Boston, Grandma? Looking for a teenager, they rolled out the SWAT teams, and this is how they're militarizing the police forces.
Yeah, I know. Back in 1966, when they started bringing home those Green Berets and Vietnam boys, their men, and putting them in on our police forces because they were already trained. I think you're going to be sorry. And now they are. But there's no reason for this to be going on in this nation. A nation, quote, a brotherly, lovely nation of respect of God, moral, and decency, that's run by a bunch of damn whore hoppers, drug runners, whore masters. Come on, give me a break. When we are represented in our State Department by nothing more than a figure what name I'd like to call it. Either one of them. But it has got so bad that the people of the world need to get a new broom out and just sweep those administration clean wherever they are in whatever nation they are. Get rid of them. Get back to where they are, back on target and operating with respect for the people and respect for one another.
You know, we do have a worldwide problem, VK. The 90 out of all the countries, there's only about 7 that aren't a member of the International Monetary Fund, that aren't controlled by the international bankers, and that's Venezuela, Iraq, and that's why we're aiming up for Iraq. Can't put the whole New World Order together. And you might comment too. You might comment to about this. What about what happened in Iceland? What happened? I mean, are we seeing a worldwide revolution here? I mean, we've only got a few countries left, and Iraq or Iran might have said to Keish, the nuclear scientist there in Iran, has developed pretty much unlimited power that Tesla tried to do and was shut down by Morgan and the Rockefellers here.
Well, you know, the Morgans and the Rockefellers under Title 50 of the USC, you will find, I believe it was in 1987, where the United States gave them the nuclear capacity. They gave it to Korea. They gave it to the other nations. And now they're over there bitching because they're using it.
The bankers brag about funding both sides. They always fund both sides.
Well, there's one way to stop it. Hang the bankers and get back on Glass-Seagal.
Well, I've suggested that over the years. That makes me a right-wing radical, I guess. But Grandma, they are ripping us off. They're squeezing the money. We've had a million Americans homeless, made homeless in this country this last year or two. And I mean, I recall our founding father, Thomas Jefferson. And sometimes I feel like I sit at a table across from him. He said, if we ever allow a private bank to issue our money, the banks and the corporations that spring up around them will leave our children homeless in the land that we conquered. And that's exactly what's happening now. You know, I don't think I'm a rebel here. I don't think I'm a radical. I think I am an American that wants to stay free. And if we expect to stay free, folks, you got to keep fighting this. You've got to keep standing up to this. You've got to keep educating. And you got to work together or it ain't going to work. Grandma, I've got a plan for something called Liberty Villages. I've had that for a number of years.
Yeah, I know you have.
And I think now, instead of making... What's that?
You know, what we're looking at here, you're an American, and I'm an American. And I am an American that is of the firm belief that when America is allowed to function as she was intended to function, then the entire world will be safe. Now, to war in another nation. We are only supposed to go to war to protect our own borders. But being the type of American that I believe that the same thing that is applicable under our Constitution and our Bill of Rights is applicable to every nation and that nation's people that the United States has entered into treaties with. And those people need the same protection of those rights in the Constitution as we have. They don't need to be taught to hate the Constitution, hate the American people. Hell no, join together and let's get this thing moving the way it was intended to move.
Well, you know, you're kind of taking some one of my ambitions. I don't talk about it much. You know, I really don't care for politicians much. I don't want to. You know, get involved in the whole presidential race because I've been there. I've been involved in it. I've seen how it's manipulated by the media, and you know, if you're gonna have an ambition, I just want to take over the new world order and run it for the benefit of the people, like this country was supposed to be, the way this country was set up. I mean, even Rhodesia based their constitution and their form of government on ours before the UN went over and got them. And Grandma, we've got foreign troops in America right now. We've got Russians, and we've got you know, a lot more. They've just kind of opened the doors, and this is the UN at work, Rapid Response Force, UN by the United Nations.
Now, why in the hell would we need foreign troops, armed foreign troops on our soil? Why?
To control American people who just won't follow orders, as Colonel John Brinkerhoff told law enforcement in Albuquerque after at the first Homeland Security meeting. We'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people in case of a single outbreak of smallpox or an atomic attack on America. Well, 400,000 troops to control the American people? I believe so too.
I think that once these bastards come and start knocking on our doors, you know what I think's going to happen? It's going to be Bunker Hill all over again.
Well, you have to, if that's possible, then you have to do something about it. You have to prepare for it, don't you?
How do you know they aren't prepared for it?
I think they are preparing for it. I think people are. I think a lot of people are.
I would just tell them safe and safe. They are prepared for it.
I'll have Gordon Duff on later this week from Veterans Today, and he says even the Joint Chiefs are talking about what's happening here and preparing to do something about it. I mean, they may have their plans, but somebody told me one time, Grandma.
Those Joint Chiefs.
What?
Somebody told me something too a long time ago. Those Joint Chiefs haven't got enough a ball between all of them. All they like to do is sit there and collect their damn money. I have no use for them. No use for them at all.
So you get back down to somebody, the people have to do this. Now, I'm willing to do a lot, and I think I've done a lot. But I'm not law enforcement, I'm not in the Army, I'm not in the Senate, I'm not in the House. I'm just an average guy out here. I am trying to do something. I do want to do something. Why do I have a tough time Why do I get demonized a lot for simply wanting the same things that you're talking about right now and trying to do that?
This isn't a personal problem. This isn't just a personal problem. This is a global problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody wants to make it personal. Everybody wants to make it a personal thing. You just tried to make it a personal thing. It's a global problem. There's not an individual around the world that hasn't been confronted with the same thing when they stood up and said no. When they dug their heels in on that line in the sand, and they stood up and said no, no matter. Every one of them has gone through the same thing. So it just isn't a personal problem.
No, it's not a personal problem, and I hope I don't portray it that way. I simply do the show and have people like you on so few thousand people can hear your words, and I do my website and do the articles that I do and write the books I do so I can reach a few more with the kind of wisdom that you have gained from experience. I'm sorry, what?
I said I thank you for your efforts. But, here, honey, I want you to think about this. Anytime there's some information out there that could help the people, the bastard to put that information out there put a copyright on it, so the other people, you can't share it. Think of what's going on.
Yes.
And it's not good.
Well, we do have to balance since they've broken Americans down. Very few people make donations. The bills still go on. The companies still want to get their money, or they cut off services. So, we've still got to deal with this on a daily basis and deal with it from an economical aspect. As individuals, we don't have anybody else to turn to, but I hope to provide answers for people. I hope to. I think if we get back to growing our own food, producing our own energy, what can you make in that garage? You got a set of tools in there. What are you good for? I'm not a mechanic, but I would sure go to the mechanic if he lived next door to me. I mean, if we've almost been. They've almost used the internet and the television to isolate us a lot more than we should, considering the kind of communication we got. Go ahead, dear. Sorry.
We need to set up trade schools. We need to set up trade schools for these youngsters.
We are setting up that. We do have that. It's called Timothy Bible College, and we will have courses in there on self-sufficiency, on canning, on all of the things that our grandmothers knew and we forgot. We also have more information on how to take care of the soil, how to grow plants, and the only thing that's stopping that, the only protest I get, well, zoning won't allow it. Well, the city won't allow us to have chickens there in our backyard. I saw somebody peeping over the fence to check my tomatoes the other day. I mean, that's a police state, folks, and been around, and they're just tightening it down a little bit now. Grandma, thank you for being with me. BK Durham, tell your friends about it. Thank you for being with me, dear.
idea will remain a dictatorship. Oh, be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictator? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests.
Tune in Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Liberation Nation with Deacon John, where America comes to hear the truth.
I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please,